Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Songkeepers podcast. I am super excited and humbled to be bringing this project to life today. Songkeepers is a community organization dedicated to the transmission of sacred music from traditions throughout the world for the purpose of healing, remembrance, and connection to the deepest parts of ourselves and to one another. From this rooted intention, many branches are growing. We host communal gatherings that welcome healing artists from across lineages, including Kirtan, medicine music, and other sacred traditions. We also offer private ceremonial spaces for those moving through life transitions, especially around grief, illness, and death. We're also building volunteer initiatives in underserved spaces. There's retreats coming, workshops, a festival on the horizon, and an online platform dedicated to amplifying the voices of musicians carrying this work around the world. I'm your host, John Flynn, founder of Songkeepers, musician and sacred song facilitator. I'm a physician in hospice and palliative medicine as well. And as a lifelong lover of music, I've always been curious about the stories behind the songs. Who are the people whose voices move us so deeply? What shaped them? What inspires their devotion? What does it mean to carry song in this way? This podcast is not about idolizing artists. It's about remembering that the music moves through human beings, imperfect, devoted, searching, just like all of us. My hope is that these conversations help us recognize ourselves and one another. That something in these stories touches a nerve, awakens something, and brings us closer to our own path, our own voice, and our own devotion. And today, I'm honored to be in conversation with Adam Kandel. Adam is a multi-instrumentalist, a singer-songwriter, and a songkeeper whose music bridges devotional chant, mantra, sacred prayer, and community-centered gathering. Based in Baltimore, Maryland, Adam has been sharing his music for over 2 decades, from intimate ceremonial spaces to festival stages, weaving together ancient chants and original compositions that invite participation rather than performance. His recordings include Open Eye to Grace, In Possibility I Trust, and his latest album, Show Up as Love. Adam is going to be the featured artist joining us for our Songkeepers gathering on February 22nd, 2026 at Summit Presbyterian Church in Mount Airy, and the tickets are going to be available in the show notes. Adam, welcome. I'm super grateful that you're here, brother.
Oh, thanks so much, John. It's an honor to be here and to connect with you and just hearing your mission truly aligns deeply with what I'm all about and what I'm up to. So this feels like a really beautiful connection, and I look forward to what opens up here.
Thank you, brother. And yeah, I've in the few conversations we've had, I've just really enjoyed connecting with you, and I've been a fan of your music. It's carried me in many ways in the last year. So to be able to talk to you about your music, about your path is truly an honor for me. So yeah, I'm curious, brother. First, just arriving right now, and like where you are right now, and what's moving through you right now. What's inspiring you in this moment? What are you going through? Where are you in your life?
Sure, yeah. I shared a little bit with you before this call, but I just I'm in Maryland right now, outside of Baltimore, in my home, which is a beautiful property here, just on the edge of the city, and I feel really grateful to be close to nature. And I just returned from Hawaii this about a week ago now. I was there for a couple weeks, doing some land project work and a lot of music, a lot of sweet connections, musical connections and collaborations that I'm excited about. And I think in just overall big picture, like with the music, things are really feeling expansive right now, really opening up in new ways. Just noticing like new invitations in like different states. I got invited to a festival in the Midwest this summer that I'm excited about, called Earth Vibe. Coming up to Philly in a couple weeks to be with you guys. I'm really stoked about that. Um, And yeah, just kind of building this. It's really been quite an evolution, which I'm sure we'll get further into. But just to be expressing and sharing myself in new ways and with new audiences, and I'm just kind of along for the ride and trusting the divine plan here. So yeah, that's a little snippet of where I'm at.
Amazing, brother. Is Hawaii somewhere that you travel to often?
Yeah, we do an annual pilgrimage there. That supports the work that we are up to here in the mainland. So yeah, there's just some really beautiful alliances there that we stay connected with, and yeah, I've felt a deep connection actually with the Big Island for a long time. I first went there like probably 25 years ago, and it's one of the few places that was like, I could live here one day. Like, I really like this place, and since I've been back a handful of times, and yeah, we've gone the last couple winters. So yeah,
Amazing. And when you're there, are you both facilitating song gatherings as well as getting into your own creative process? Are you finding time to sit and write and allow new things to come?
that would be lovely. I wish there was a little bit more time for that. It's funny, I was talking to my friend about that there, and I was just like, I feel like I need to just go and be somewhere by myself for like a week or two and really like open up that faucet of creative inspiration and just spiritual connection in myself. This was a part of like kind of co-facilitating, co-leading like a retreat that we had, 18 people with us, and so I was pretty focused on holding the container and just like leadership roles, more than having that kind of space. But hopefully, I'll get to have that sometime soon. I'm sure I will.
Sure, sure. Well, you have, at least from what I feel like I've only scratched the surface of what you've released recordings wise. I think you have 8 albums on Spotify. So you have a lot of original stuff out there. Although I'm sure there's always new stuff waiting to be born. Um, are you these days finding yourself playing a lot of your own music, and if so, like, is it more the newer music that you're drawn to, or yeah, what songs are you gravitating towards right now?
Yeah, it's been quite an interesting progression. I started playing when I was pretty young, 15, 16. So, it's been, I don't want to admit how many years, but plenty of years. It's been like 30 years. I like a lot of songs used to come through. Like, it's really been like a very therapeutic process for me. So it's like whatever I'm moving through, like it's the way that I can really sort of crystallize and express, or pray, or offer gratitude or praise. Um, it's really been just so supportive in that way, and I feel like there's been this progression where it's kind of like a bit less and less original material as the years go by. I don't know exactly why. Like sometimes I wish I could just like tune back into that like really innocent energy of just like, every chord is like sounds amazing, and every poetic word is just like yes. Now it feels like now it feels like a little bit more like, maybe the bar is a little higher. Like I want to really like fine tune it more, or just all the experience has shifted that, for better or worse. But yeah, lately I'd say, It's interesting. I've been really delving into more of like songs, other people's songs that I resonate with, and kind of like reinterpreting them into my style, or like adding on some kind of new new sections to them, or building them out, or like adding another language translation in, or something like this. And yeah, a little less original, which sometimes concerns me, but I just trust in the process of the whole thing, and hopefully things continue to open up in good ways. And in the meantime, it's really lovely, like getting to tap into other people's what's come through them, and just different ways of uh the musicality and chord progressions and things like that, that like I can really like kind of study like what's happening, and the way other people connect the dots.
I resonate with all of that completely. There's only so many songs I can just play C G A minor F and still feel like my heart is in it. Although to be honest, sometimes I can go back to those simple progressions and still find it. But yeah, it's nice to have other inspirations and artists and other people's music. Sometimes I look at the music that I write, and yeah, I can see somehow my whole path and my whole life maybe not everything in a single song, but like I can see how the different artists or different traditions have shaped into a specific thing. And
Mhm.
I'm curious for you, like you mentioned starting playing guitar around 15. Has it always been have you always been drawn to these sacred devotional traditions, or indigenous traditions, or was your where did your love of music kind of start, and how did it evolve into where it is now? I'm sure you could probably talk about this for hours, but if you could share a little bit of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the beginnings. Oh yeah, I could easily talk about this for hours, but yeah, like I think hand drum is kind of where I started, and I still it's more, guitar and drum are equally like my primary instruments. And yeah, just like rolling up to a accidentally to a Philadelphia drum circle, like behind the art museum many years ago, and like just like, oh my God, people do this, and feeling just really lit up, and like felt like something I've been waiting for. That was a start, and like kind of instantly, I got a drum right away, and then I started singing to just like simple drum beats. And that was kind of like part of that. I had, that was in the same phase where I was really like opening up to new music. Like, you know, huge influences were like Bob Marley. Just like, I just remember saving up and like getting, another album of his, and listening to it like religiously, like every morning, like on my walk to school, and every second I get a chance, and just like couldn't wait to hear the next track on each album, and was just like so into it and loved it so much. So that's a massive inspiration for me. I have my parents took me to like my first Grateful Dead show when I was 7 years old on my birthday. So
Cool
I've
parents, man.
yeah, got some roots in that world, which I feel like it's all influenced me in different ways. Just the chemistry and the improvisation, and exploration of like that genre of music has influenced me in some ways to really like open up, and like I do it a lot with my voice now, but like to really kind of channel, like, and let something come through that I can like create in the moment. And I've been in like jam bands over the years when I was younger in college and stuff like that. There's not as much of that, but I like to still harness some of the elements there. And then, yeah, as far as like some like traditional stuff that came along a little bit later, but not long when I actually went to I think I was in high school or I might have just started college, but I was invited to a kirtan with Bhagavan Das at Yoga on Main in Philly.
Okay, nice.
Um, and I had some friends that were connected to that space and the people involved there. And yeah, when I landed in that room and heard that first like Ganesha chant, like and then some of the, following chants, like it hit home like in the deepest way possible. And it was like just a huge remembrance for me. And um I think I had, like, maybe, like, a little tiny bit of, like I'd heard, like, some chants, like, I remember we did, like, a raw food fast, and, like, one of my friends brought in, like, a couple chants that I had never heard, like, Sanskrit before, and, so then when I heard them again with Bhagavan Das, it was just like, "Oh my god, yes," like, just a huge, like, yes in my body and in my mind and in my spirit, and a big remembrance. And instantly from there, like, probably when I got home that night, I started, like, chanting with my guitar, and that was where, like, it really started, and I really delved into, like, Nada yoga and just some of the traditions, with, the yoga of sound, and, uh and yeah, before long, I was like, yeah, offering like workshops and this stuff, like probably within a year or two, because it just it all just aligned in a really profound way for me. And then yeah, it's been a big long progression since then, but that was kind of the early days of that.
You're giving me chills, brother. It's reminding me too of the first time that I went to a kirtan, and it was also Ganesha, and I had no idea who Ganesha was. I had no idea what anybody was singing to. It was in Guatemala,
Mm,
and and yeah, it was at this yoga and artist place called Karuna at Lake Atilan, and I just remember like hearing and feeling this chant and singing along and just like weeping, and I'm like, why am I crying? I don't understand this. And and yeah, it just from then on, it like unlocked something in me too that I just had to. And it started out with, and from my experience of like, oh, I don't want to get too intellectual about this. I don't even really care to learn about who these deities are or necessarily the stories. I just want to keep feeling into this sacred sound idea. But as time has evolved on my end, I've wanted to learn and understand more, um, because it can also enhance the music, of course, that's coming through and the understanding, hopefully without getting too carried away in the mind.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, Ganesha is such a powerful one, and I tend to start most kirtans that I facilitate with a Ganesha mantra. It's like this is the deity that opens the threshold, right?
yeah.
Opens the door.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, even before that, I think I went I had an Indian friend, and I traveled with him to visit some of his family in India. I can't remember the timeline. It was all probably within a year or two. But his family was taking us to different temples, and um, we landed at this one temple up north, outside of Delhi somewhere, and it was a big Shiva temple with a big Shiva statue, and we're going into this sort of like cave to get to sort of the more like inner sanctum of the temple, and we're in a line, and it's dark, and they're playing some sounds over these speakers in there, and I'm hearing this over and over, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, and I just like kind of like tapped on the guy in front of me, his shoulder, and I was just like, what does this mean? This is like and he kind of smiled and was just like, praises to the Lord. And I was like, ah, that's perfect. I love the simplicity. I'll never forget that because obviously there's a million interpretations of mantra and the deities, as you mentioned. But yeah, that just like that that's kind of my approach is it's very simplistic and there's like an inherent technology in the language and in the prayers that I just know in my soul. Like, I don't need to know too much more. Sometimes it's interesting to learn more, and like you said, it can kind of like, yeah, give some body to what's happening, mental understanding in different ways, and could potentially enhance, the practice. Um, but for me, it's just been very intuitive and just like a remembering and these mantras. And yeah, Shiva has been kind of like my primary like energy that I chant with and sing to. So
I ancient technology, yeah, it's and the way that these mantras help us to remember. Um, I resonate with that
mhm.
completely, and um, with have you been to India since that first trip?
I have, yeah.
Nice. And is there a reason for you why? I mean, if you could put into words, which you definitely don't have to, but like, why do you think Shiva
Mm.
is so central to who you are,
Mm.
yeah?
Yeah, great question. And it is a mystery to me, and I'm always curious and open minded. Like I definitely felt a deep remembrance, like in South India, with some of like the really ancient Shiva temples, like before Shiva even had sort of like the image that we know Shiva as now, that embodied kind of image. And I traveled. I did a pilgrimage with a teacher named Russell Paul, who wrote the Yoga of Sound book. And I had seen him at a kirtan somewhere like in Pennsylvania, I think. And he was sharing that he brings people to India. So we went with him to his ashram, um, and it was a beautiful experience, and he took us into sort of, again, like these sort of inner sanctums of some of these really ancient temples, and, where they got, like, the huge Shiva lingams, and they're pouring the milk and doing all the rituals around that and chanting chanting to Shiva, like, around the clock, and I just had some just profoundly some of the deepest experiences of my life, like, especially, like, without plant medicines and things and, like, out of body experiences and just the deepest, like, soul remembrance type of experiences, and yeah, just, it's could be, like, past life stuff, like, I just feel so at home, like, in some of these parts of India, like, I'll just like, so many things will just click for me, like, I'll notice I remember, like, just sitting somewhere and, like, seeing, like, all these people just kinda squatted, like, around, like, on the ground, and that's the way they're sitting, and I was just like, "Ah, like, that's why I've been sitting like this my whole life." Like, like, I must have been here before, like, I feel truly, like, at home there, and, like, I used to, like I would, like, be in my parents', like, kitchen when I was a kid and, like, be, like, sitting up on their, like, kitchen counters, like, squatting, and, like, my mom would be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I'm comfortable." Like um, so I think it all ties into, yeah, that question you asked of with Shiva, like, why Shiva? And, like, I don't know the answer, but I just do know that there is, like, something so resonant about that energy and frequency and, yeah, it's just like my go-to. It just brings me home when I chant to Shiva, and it, like, just is a powerful way to connect in with my heart, to like get out of my head. I feel like that's, a big part of the whole, you know, bhajans and kirtan and mantra, of course, is to really like get into that. Um, it's like an equally receptive mode. So like you're like receiving the sounds that are coming out of you. You're also like expressing them and giving them, but at the same time they're coming in and you're receiving them. And I feel like there's something about that loop that sort of lets us have respite from like the normal brain waves in the mind, and kind of shifts that. And there's just something so uh it just feels so soothing and connective, and is like this thing that I've always been seeking, that I didn't know exactly what I was seeking, but it's just a place that I feel more in tune with just deeper parts of my being.
Shivoham, Shivoham, Chitanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, Chitanandarupa, Shivoham, Shivoham.
It's such a beautiful answer, and um, yeah, it's almost even as soon as I asked the question about like, why Shiva, it what I'm hearing from you isn't there's not really an intellectual answer here, although I'm sure um, somebody could, a scientist could say like, oh yeah, when you chant, these are the way the brain waves change, or whatever. But it's, yeah, to me, you're speaking to this like, I don't know, this deep recognition of these sounds, and there's this way that, for one reason or another, they bring peace, they bring healing, they bring this this true frequency of like, and I know for me when I'm chanting too, it's the same kind of remembrance. I remember as you shared about Shiva, like I was reminded too of the Hanuman Chalisa, and like the first time I really heard the Hanuman Chalisa, and I won't tell the whole story, but like it's I was at Ram Dass's house in Maui,
Hmm.
and visiting there, and they said, "Oh yeah, come visit on Tuesday. We're singing the Hanuman Chalisa." I said, "Sure, I'll be there." I have no idea what the Chalisa is, and I show up, and I go in this beautiful temple that's right there on the property, and there's this wooden Hanuman Murti there in the front, and the place probably fits like 15 or 20 people, and I go in, like the woman who is Ram Dass's caretaker. Her name's Dasi. She like waves me in and tells me to come sit in the front, right next to the harmonium. I sit down. They're singing the Chalisa, and I'm just weeping, and I have no
Wow.
idea. I have no idea why.
Hmm.
Um, and but yeah, these songs, these frequencies, these technologies. It's beyond explanation in so many ways. Yeah, and it's so healing, and yeah, thank you, brother, for the way that you have been willing to sit and receive, and to send it back out into the
Hmm.
world,
Hmm.
and through your own interpretations. That song on your most recent album, I Am That I Am. That was the first song that I was like, damn, this guy he's this is really incredible in the way that you
Hmm.
kind of, and to me that's a Shiva is in that song, no?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um I don't know if you remember how that song even came to you. Um
Yeah, that was a cool one. That was one of those ones that literally like woke me up like in the early morning one day. And I just I heard the song in my head, like in that sort of in between state. And like at least the beginning part, the I am that I am uh, part, and with the melody and everything, it was like, yeah, somewhat in a dream or in between, and I just woke up and like recorded it into my phone, and then yeah, and then I figure out the guitar, what works. It usually flows pretty seamlessly, and then frequently like Shiva just wants to get involved, and and there it is. And yeah, there was like like there might be some feeling or like something, and like I'll might do some research and look it up, and then there's like, oh, this mantra, like, oh, that's exactly like the feeling that I'm talking about, and it might be something new that I haven't heard, that like the Chitananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham, and and then it'll just fit perfectly like into the song, and I'm just like, okay, that is definitely supposed to be there, and I just feel that like just yeah, magnetic energy that we feel when we tap into something that's like they say some songs are like already like existing in the universe, and we're just like grabbing them out and finding them and letting them come through and be expressed in this time, in this place. So it was kind of one of those moments. Yeah.
I am that I am, mother, I am. I am that I am, father, I am. I am that I am, brother, I am. I am that I am, sister, I am.
It's amazing when that happens, for me too. It's when I'm writing and a song just comes out in like an hour. And I'm like, okay, that was
Yeah.
just there. We're just ready.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm curious too, just to hear a little bit about your background with the indigenous traditions of the Americas. Like it seems like a number of your songs you're tying in some Lakota lineages, if I'm hearing correctly, and um, and I know you've sung at rainbow gatherings and things like that. So can you share a little bit about how that's become a part of your path, and
Mhm.
yeah, what's your journey there?
Sure. Yeah. Um, that one. Yeah, I think it's not like as like with the Indian kind of mythology and the energy of India and the spirituality there. I feel definitely like a massive resonance there. And then yeah, I think just working with plant medicines, you know, that that are from this region. I think that's like opened me up to like hearing indigenous people. Like we've hosted different indigenous people, offering various types of ceremony and sound, um, and yeah, I guess there has been a deep also resonance with like I've been doing sweat lodge since I was pretty young. That was another thing where it was just like, yes, like I've been waiting for this. I've done this before. And yeah, I think just like yeah, hearing all different songs and musicians, it's just been entered into that field of inspiration for me. Yeah, I have I would say like the three places on the earth that I've felt the most kind of connection with is India, Hawaii, as I already mentioned, and then like Peru has been a place that I've now been like several times. Um, and yeah, there's just something about those more primal cultures that are connected to the land and connected to spirit, um, that they're just there's a different mentality. There's not like an individuation. Like there's such a deeper sense of interconnectedness, and I think there's just something that really strikes me and is that again like a remembrance. So yeah, I don't know if that totally answered that question, but
No, well, it does, and it expands on it, and yeah, I again feel a deep resonance with that, and some of these areas I've been to as well, and for me, especially South America, I can't stop going back there, and I think a big piece of this is like it's just so easy for me to see to feel community and connection there.
mhm,
Um, and it's a lot of it is through these I think the indigenous traditions, which are still really have a place in these lands, and I think still really inform the cultures there. And um, so yeah, I was recently in Ecuador, and I went to this little town called Saraguro, and I was there for their like 6th of January celebration, and it's like this ancient, like they mix the Christian celebration with their like pre-Incan customs, and people are dressed up in all these different costumes. And but I was just sitting at this gathering. It was like 100 something people in this courtyard of this family, and they have these giant pots, and they're making the soups, and they're all sharing, and people are eating with their hands. And I was just kind of sitting back and watching, and I'm like, I'm just seeing one organism here, essentially. Like, it doesn't even
mm,
feel like individual people.
mm,
Um, and I think that for me, it was just a very clear example of this communal nature. And then it's also the way, of course, that I've felt this deep connection with the land there that sometimes is also beyond explanation and
mhm.
words. But where there's still like singing to the mountain, singing to the water. Yeah, I don't know. It does something.
Definitely. Yeah, and it just I know for me, and I'm imagine for you, just it just exposes the contrast of the sort of disconnected way that our modern culture is living, and it's it's like, how do we get sort of back to that, but forward to that in a new way? And it just makes what's happening seem so apparent, and we wonder why there's so much strife and sickness in the bodies and mentally, uh and then we see cultures that are living in a much more harmonious way that honor the earth and honor each other. And it's just, to me, it's always been just so obvious, and it's just like, what are we doing? And uh, over here and in some of these modern cultures that are just so disconnected. So hopefully it's part of like lighting that fire, in us that can really like remember and bring some elements, and hopefully like at least at this point like balance like what's going on with some beauty. That's like a thing I remind myself a lot of, like why I'm doing that. Why I'm doing what I'm doing, like, because I question, I'm like, am I bypassing and just singing, beautiful songs and all that? But like, I truly believe like it's a really important duty for us that carry this kind of medicine uh, to really like try to offer some balance into what's happening by, with joy and creativity and prayer and song and remembering like what we're saying here, like connection with each other and to the land that we live upon. and with. So that's what kind of like fuels my fire, to keep going. Like it just feels like a truly like a duty to bring bring beauty into this world. Yeah.
I know I'm not speaking just for myself when I say that. Just truly thank you for your willingness to do this work. It is so important right now.
I'm gonna rise up once more with the sun. Gonna rise up and show up as love. I'm gonna rise up once more with the sun.
Like, I think there's a lot of artists like yourself that, get drawn to places like India or Peru, and then they end up just moving there because of how hard life it feels here sometimes and how disconnected it feels. And yet you're here, and this is where you live and where you're sharing your music, and your heart. And so do you ever flirt with the idea of I don't want to say running away, but going somewhere else where it might be a little bit easier? And what keeps you here?
Mm. Yeah, it's a good question. I've thought about it, and yeah, I think just like the bloom where you are planted kind of thing, and again, like kind of back to that duty. Like, yeah, I could go somewhere else, and I don't know that one is better than the other. I've thought about this concept a lot, like to concentrate like good energy or like the things that we want to see in the world like more together in a concentrated way in a space together. Like does that have more impact, or does like pockets of doing, you know beings, like doing what they are passionate about, that feel connective and healing, like interspersed with all the other stuff going on in those areas? Like it's there. I don't know that there's a definitive answer, but I think for me, like, I've felt enough connection. Like, I just have a pretty huge network of like amazing friends and people and community that are really like dedicated to doing this kind of work together. And so it just feels like I feel like I'm a part of that, and it feels wonderful just to have the connection. And this is the culture that I'm from and that I was born in. And, like, yeah, we draw from other traditions and things, but we also do it in our own way, in our own unique way, that's evolving. And for me, it's just like exciting to be a part of that and see what we can kind of co-create, and what effect like our prayers and our mission can have, and I see it spread, and um I see people getting lit up all the time, every ceremony, every gig that I'm doing, like it turns on a light for at least, somebody, and that's what keeps me in it. Yeah.
Hey, brother. Well, um, yeah, we're obviously very lucky to have you around here, and I'm thinking about. I went and saw Adam at you played this show with Shimshai a couple of months ago, and it was just phenomenal. This church in Baltimore. Um, and you were just talking about your community, but oh man, like your music is amazing, but yeah, when you're up there and you had a couple of people singing harmony with you, and these harmonies were just soaring. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to speak to any of the people you collaborate with, and
Yeah.
how that enhances your own creative process.
Yeah, bro. I mean, that is what I live for, like straight up. It's it is the peak of living for me is tapping into that like co-creative energy, singing together, like just the unbelievable, like unfathomable, like mystery of these bodies, and these vessels that we exist. And it blows my mind every day, just that, like, to be embodied in this, you know, whatever this is, this form, that consciousness is inhabiting, and then to like be able to like utilize that, like with sound, like this gift, this precious gift of like all of our senses, and this whole experience of being in a body, and like, just the increments in music, how it's all designed, like, with all the geometry and all that, the way the patterns, how things exist, like to be able to like get into that and let it kind of like naturally happen, and like be a part of creation, in that way is, like truly like lights me up in the biggest way possible. And yeah, I've got like some really close friends. I've got different projects going on. I've always had like some close musical siblings in my life. I feel really grateful. I'm an only child, growing up, and I always have had like really close friends since I was a little kid. I'm still friends with some of those childhood friends, and it just seems to keep carrying over, and expanding. And I feel like the just my musical soul family is just such a beautiful gift. And yeah, I've got like some of my really close like sisters, my sister Allison Clendaniel and Jana Summers, and I mean I could go on, and brothers, my brother Ryan Sansing, and Ray Cheney, and um anyway, there's a lot. I don't want to start saying names, or I'll fill up 10 minutes of names. But um yeah, it's truly like the greatest privilege and gift, like to be able to like co-create and sing and pray together. Like that's the thing, like that's part of my progression, is like I used to chant like by myself, like, and mostly sing by myself for years. And I'd always have like a close couple like musical partners, but I really spent a lot of time like, alone. Um, and I think there's something beautiful about that, and I still honor the balance of that. But I've just seen this progression of more connection, and then sharing it even more. I just feel so like supported. Like I don't consider myself like maybe like, yeah, some incredible musician necessarily. Like I feel like a pretty simpleton type of musician. Um, and I think there's power in that. But like I've always been able to like link up with these like whatever, like Peabody graduates, that are like exceptional musicians, and they're always like talking about what's happening like theory wise, and I'm just like, I don't know what you guys are saying. I'm picking up like bits and bits over the years.
Hmm.
So I'm starting to be able to like speak the language a little bit, but I feel like it's just like the enhancement of getting together with amazing musicians, like just blows my mind, and really, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, two things I'm thinking about is just like, yeah, you seem to be just an intuitive kind of person, and probably an intuitive musician, and maybe when you're writing or you're singing, um, yeah, not having necessarily mountains of theory behind you may serve you in some ways, I'm sure. But it's also, yeah, and then to gather the people around you that know these things. It's this balance, I guess, between knowledge and intellect, and then that more intuitive wisdom. That
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of like the intuitive part of it. I really think like that's where the magic can really like, come in. And I like we talked about a little bit, but like yeah, when I receive a song, when a song comes through like that, like it doesn't matter if it's still another like A minor and G like back and forth guitar chord, like the way it comes through is like it's powerful, and I can feel it like when I share it, and I hear from people like how, or just experiencing an opening in them, whether it's tears or bliss or whatever. It's just like a affirmation. It's very affirming that the way it comes through, however it is, musically per se, like it's impactful and powerful in that way. And yeah, I think yeah, intuitive music for me, it we can feel it, right? Like we can feel it in our bodies and like and in our emotions, and to me that's what it's all about, and so
Yeah, like the birds aren't out there studying theory, and yet they're
yeah, yeah.
they're doing just fine.
Exactly. And there's something cool about playing with, yeah, like knowledge and
Of course.
creativity in that way. It's incredible. Not to take anything away from that. That's just not my path necessarily.
Of course, yeah. Not taking anything away from those that have spent their lives studying all of this stuff, and please don't stop. And I
Yes.
think we just need, or both can serve
Yes.
our music, and yeah, it's beautiful. And I was just thinking about harmony too, and like the way that these um that voices come together. And again, just uh it's this kind of connection that I was hearing at that event that you had between you and the other singers, and that I feel too when I'm harmonizing with someone else. And yes, I can sing on my own in the morning and just feel something really important through that. And then when there's somebody else involved, it just can evoke something sometimes even deeper.
Hmm.
Um, that is, yeah, beyond words. So
Yeah.
sounds like you have some really, really wonderful people that you're collaborating with. And yeah, I think, running to time, but I'm curious. Just one more question for you, and that's for people who are musicians themselves, people that are healers, people that are holding ceremonial spaces. Um, you're someone that has a fair amount of experience doing this stuff, although I know you carry a lot of humility, and I'm sure that you also see that there's a long way to go. But for th- I'm curious if you'd be willing to share any wisdom or advice for people that are sharing their hearts in this way. Like, how do you what have you learned about how to make this work sustainable and continually filling up your heart?
Hmm. Um, yeah, I think it's just kind of come from that like inner passion. Like, uh, there's a lot of people like starting music and it's just like how do I like yeah, like do I have to practice like every day for how long and stuff like that? I'm like, I don't know anything about that. Like I've just since I was 15, 16 years old, like just, like I remember like being so excited for the school day to end to get to go home and like pick up that guitar. And I think that's where it's gotta come from. And I think um just that that natural like passion, and I think you have to have like your own like true deep relationship with it. And then it's kind of up to the divine will, like where it goes and what you're meant to do. And I think for me, it's like just listening and getting out of the way, and really like kind of following orders, And it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And um, when an idea comes through like in a real clean, pure way, like it's up to me. Like I can just write it down or have ideas, but to like follow through, that's the part where I get to be involved. And that would be like my sort of advice is to really like do your best to follow through. Like if you receive something by the grace of God, like do your best to live it out. Yeah.
It's one thing to hear the call, and sometimes that's hard enough to hear where it is that we're to be going, and then it's that second piece of then doing it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, and I think remembering like why you're doing it is the key. Like I'm constantly reminding myself like what I'm up to, and it ultimately boils down to like service, and you know that it could be helpful for one person, like that it could touch somebody in a way that is supportive to wherever they're at, whatever they're going through, some kind of remembrance, whatever it might be. That's got to be the reason.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that wisdom, for sharing your stories. Um, really looking forward to you coming back to your old stomping grounds of Philly
Yeah.
and sharing your music in a couple weeks on February
Yes.
22nd. And yeah, I know people can find your music on most platforms, right? Spotify, Apple Music, all the places.
Yep.
And yeah, anything else you want to share, brother?
Uh, I mean, yeah, just like to find me like social media. If you're on social media, on Instagram, it's Adam Kandel Music. On like Facebook, it's Adam Kandel. And then yeah, it's just my name on any of the streaming platforms. If you're curious to give a listen or see what I'm up to, I'm kind of always like working on just uh authentic authentic shares, and like trying to just give doses of beauty into this like world that's going, in such a wild way. So yeah.
Well, this conversation, at least for me, was medicine. Uh, it was just medicine today. And I will put links to all of Adam's handles and all that stuff in the show notes. And thanks for listening. And Adam, look forward to seeing you soon, brother.
Thank you, bro. You too.
I am the fortunate, joyful, supreme being who is the very emblem of truth, knowledge and eternal bliss. I am consciousness, I am consciousness and bliss. I am the fortunate, joyful, supreme being who is the very emblem of truth, knowledge and eternal bliss. Yeah. I am consciousness, I am consciousness and bliss. I am Shiva, Shiva. I am Shiva, Shiva. I am Shiva, Shiva.
Many blessings to you.
Back at you, John. Thank you so much. So sweet to connect with you in this way.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, sounds good. Peace.
Peace, brother.